The world's most valuable company is run by a team most people couldn't name. No celebrity, no stage drama, just quiet, decades-long authority over supply chains, software, hardware, and billion-dollar legal battles. Tim Cook didn't just succeed Steve Jobs. He spent a decade rebuilding Apple's inner circle into something Jobs never built, a power structure designed to outlast any single CEO. And who sits inside it reveals how Apple actually works. Tim Cook took the helm at Apple in August 2011, stepping into a role that had long been shaped by Steve Jobs' outsized presence. Under Jobs, Apple's leadership was a spectacle. Keynotes, confrontations, and bold pronouncements defined the company's public face. Decisions often radiated outward from a single charismatic center. But as Cook assumed control, the stage lights dimmed. The focus shifted from personality to process, from individual drama to collective discipline. Cook's background in operations set the tone. Authority became quieter, more methodical, and far less visible. Instead of cultivating stars, Cook built a leadership bench designed for stability and resilience. Senior roles were redefined around deep specialization, operations, software, hardware, legal, environmental policy, and retail, with each entrusted to leaders with long tenures and proven track records. The result was a company less dependent on any one figure, more reliant on a system that could endure. Apple's power began to flow through a network of experts, not a single headline-grabbing executive. This was not just a change in style, but a deliberate shift in how the company would manage risk, sustain growth, and preserve secrecy in a world where attention itself had become a liability. Jeff Williams entered Apple in 1998, stepping into a world where supply chains were fragile and the company's future was far from certain. He did not come from the world of product launches or marketing spectacle. His roots were in procurement and operations, disciplines that reward patience, negotiation, and the ability to see risk before it becomes disaster. Williams quietly mastered the art of supplier management, building relationships that would later prove vital as Apple's ambitions grew from computers to mobile devices. By 2011, Williams was overseeing worldwide operations, managing a network of factories, logistics partners, and component suppliers that stretched across continents. When Cook named him Chief Operating Officer in 2015, it was a signal to the entire company. Operational discipline would be Apple's backbone. Williams became the architect who turned strategy into reality, translating design and engineering goals into products that could be delivered at massive scale, on time, and with relentless consistency. The Apple Watch stands as the clearest proof of Williams's influence. When the project began, skeptics questioned whether Apple could move beyond the iPhone. Williams oversaw a supply chain that had to adapt to new materials, health sensors, and manufacturing tolerances tighter than anything Apple had attempted before. Under his direction, the watch went from a risky experiment to a platform that now anchors Apple's health and wearables business. The lessons learned, including supplier discipline, logistics control, and execution under pressure, became templates for every subsequent product rollout. Williams's authority did not rest on public visibility or charismatic leadership. Instead, he was trusted to keep the machinery of Apple running, even when global crises threatened to disrupt the flow of parts and finished goods. His value to Cook was continuity. In a company famous for secrecy and perfectionism, Williams's power came from his ability to deliver, year after year, without drama and without fail. Craig Federighi's name is often linked to Apple's most visible software moments: the sweeping iOS redesigns, the annual WWDC keynotes, the public launches that set the rhythm for the company's year. But behind the stagecraft, Federighi's actual remit is far broader and more consequential. Since 2012, he has served as Senior Vice President of Software Engineering, holding direct authority over iOS, iPadOS, macOS, watchOS, iOS, and tvOS. This single reporting line gives him command of every major operating system Apple ships, consolidating what was once a fragmented structure into a unified software empire. The real power in Federighi's role lies in how he manages the delicate balance between innovation and control. Each year, his teams synchronize updates across phones, tablets, laptops, watches, and televisions, an engineering feat that ensures Apple's ecosystem remains tightly integrated. The consistency of user experience is not just a matter of polish, it is a strategic barrier, locking in customers and developers while making the platform more defensible against competitors. The Mac's multi-year transition from Intel processors to Apple's own silicon stands as a case study in this approach. Federighi's oversight meant that software and hardware teams moved in lockstep, enabling the company to swap out the core architecture of its computers without breaking compatibility or sacrificing performance. The move protected Apple's margins and gave the company full control over its platform destiny, reducing reliance on outside suppliers and allowing for deeper optimization. Federighi's public persona, confident, affable, sometimes even playful, serves as a mask for a function that is fundamentally about discipline and stewardship. In Cook's Apple, software is not a support function. It is the lever by which the company maintains platform dominance and defines the terms of competition. Federighi's authority is measured not just in products launched, but in the invisible coherence that binds Apple's ecosystem together. John Ternus entered Apple in 2001, stepping into hardware engineering just as the company's fortunes began to turn on the iPod. Unlike executives who built their careers in the spotlight, Ternus advanced through the ranks by mastering the technical and manufacturing details that underpin Apple's most ambitious products. His early work on the iPad and MacBook teams established a reputation for engineering discipline, an approach that would become central as Apple's hardware ambitions grew more complex. By 2021, Ternus was named Senior Vice President of Hardware Engineering, inheriting responsibility for every major device Apple ships. This authority reaches beyond design or aesthetics. It means orchestrating the timing, scale, and technical risk of launches that move millions of units in a matter of days. Under Ternus, hardware became not just a product category, but a strategic lever, especially as Apple began its high-stakes transition away from Intel chips. The move to Apple Silicon, culminating in the launch of the M1 Mac in 2020, placed Ternus at the center of a transformation that redefined Apple's control over its own destiny. The technical and manufacturing fluency required to deliver custom chips at Apple's scale is rare even among top tech firms. Every decision, from thermal management to system architecture to global supply, flows through Ternus's organization. His ability to align engineering with manufacturing, and to do so quietly, is what gives him unusual leverage inside the company. As Apple's hardware becomes more integrated with software and services, the question of who truly understands the company's technical future becomes more pointed. Succession conversations gather naturally around Ternus, not because of public charisma, but because he sits at the intersection of engineering depth and operational scale. The gravity of his role is defined not by visibility, but by the quiet power to shape what Apple makes and how the company will deliver it to the world. Lisa Jackson's arrival at Apple in 2013, after leading the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, carried a message that environmental policy would be a core element of Apple's identity. Her mandate extended beyond carbon targets and recycling initiatives. She became the voice and architect of Apple's climate commitments, overseeing the company's 2030 carbon neutral pledge and managing global sustainability disclosures. Jackson's background gave Apple credibility with regulators and investors, embedding environmental responsibility into the business model rather than treating it as an afterthought. Kate Adams joined as general counsel in 2017, recruited from Honeywell to defend Apple's business model in an era of mounting legal and regulatory pressure. Adams's remit covers global litigation, intellectual property, and government affairs, but her highest profile challenge has been the App Store. When Epic Games took Apple to court over antitrust claims, Adams led the legal response, shaping both the public narrative and the company's internal strategy. The outcome of that case and the regulatory scrutiny that followed made clear that Apple's ability to defend its platform was as important as its ability to build new devices. Together, Jackson and Adams represent a different kind of executive power, one measured not by product launches or public acclaim, but by the ability to shape the conditions under which Apple operates. Their influence is felt in boardrooms, courtrooms, and policy negotiations, ensuring that Apple's leadership structure is built to defend the company's interests as rigorously as it innovates. Deirdre O'Brien's Apple career began in 1988, decades before most of her peers would join the company. Her rise from early operations roles to senior vice president of retail and people is more than a story of longevity. It is a blueprint for how Apple now treats its most important assets. O'Brien's dual oversight of both retail and internal culture is unique among tech giants. She manages the experience of millions of customers across more than 500 stores, while also shaping the daily reality for over 150,000 employees. By tying customer-facing retail to the internal people function, O'Brien embodies Tim Cook's conviction that culture is not a byproduct, but a strategic lever. Her presence on the executive team is a reminder that Apple's continuity does not depend on any single heir or charismatic successor. Instead, the company's durability comes from a leadership bench built to absorb change, preserve institutional memory, and maintain discipline, quietly, persistently, and at global scale. In Cook's model, the real power is structural, designed to keep Apple running regardless of who sits at the very top. Power at Apple is deliberately quiet, rooted in tenure, operational depth, and collective discipline. As markets shift and scrutiny intensifies, this structure insulates Apple from volatility and personality cults alike. The company's future hinges not on a single face, but on the resilience of its silent inner circle.